Welcome to the Superfast Instagram Q&A. Let's get dissonant.
Superfast Instagram Q&A.
Hey Adam, when is the flat ninth interval usable? So it's important to understand intervallic dissonance here when we talk about the flat nine. In Western music theory, we generally categorize intervals, the distances between two notes, as either being consonant, like a major third, or dissonant, like a tritone, for example, the so-called devil in music, although it was never banned in the Middle Ages. That's an old wives' tale. Go watch my other video about that. But, you know, still pretty dissonant. The interval of a minor ninth, or a flat nine, is widely considered the most dissonant interval in Western music. It's the distance between C and D flat up an octave. Whew. That's intense. It's one of three what are called, and I love this term, prime dissonances. The others being the minor second, the major seventh, and of course, the Big Daddy himself, the minor ninth. But just because these are really dissonant sounds doesn't mean that they aren't useful. In fact, it's very nice to have dissonance when you're trying to create a sense of tension and release in harmonic chord progressions. For example, in the key of F minor, C7 is the dominant seventh chord. It's a point of tension that wants to resolve back to F minor. So one way of increasing the tension is adding a minor ninth interval above the C, which is a D flat. By itself, very intense, very dissonant, but in the context of this resolution pattern, very satisfying. That flat nine dissonance can also just come up when you're measuring the distances between different chord tones of chords that wouldn't normally have like a flat nine in them. For example, a C7 flat 13 has that flat nine interval between a G and an A flat. Very intense, but when it resolves to an F minor, real pretty.
Sound good?
In these instances, that minor ninth pattern is useful because it's part of a tension and release cycle. But sometimes it's not quite as useful. For example, on a major seventh chord with the root voiced on top, the major seventh on the bottom creates a minor ninth dissonance. Like if I was to play that kind of chord on a bass, I don't know, maybe you like the sound of that and it might be useful for you, but to me, it doesn't have the warm, inviting quality of major seventh chords. And because of that, I might not want to use this voicing where the major seventh is on the bottom and the root is on the top, creating this nasty minor ninth interval. Because of this, you'll often see the advice that you should never use minor ninth intervals unless they're on dominant seventh chords, because there's too much tension for other qualities of chords. And I kind of agree with this because when you have a minor ninth, it obscures the quality of the chord, the feeling of the chord that you normally associate with it. Major seventh chords have this nice light feeling to it. This doesn't have that major seventhiness to it. But you know, that's music. And music is supposed to express a certain feeling and quality. And as a composer, your job is to express that feeling and quality using the material of music to the best of your ability. And maybe this is the thing, this is the sound that gets you there. Hell yeah. By the way, the term prime dissonance is a Berkeley arranging term, and Vincent Persichetti calls it a sharp dissonance. It's meant to distinguish certain kinds of chords from other kinds of chords, because when you have that sharp dissonance in a chord voicing, whether it's a minor second, a major seventh, or a flat nine, they have a certain quality to them that's considered quite desirable. This chord sounds quite nice. And part of the reason why it sounds quite nice is because of that prime dissonance in there.
Sound good?
Dissonance in music is something to be used, and it's up to the individual musician to figure out how they might use it. For example, for some people, this just might sound bad and like I'm smashing the keys on the piano. But for other people, this might be a useful sound for scoring a horror film. It's all about how you approach the music on its own terms. This was supposed to be a super fast Q&A. What happened to that? All right, let's get into it. Why do you prefer Ableton Live over other DAWs, such as Logic or Cubase? It's very simple, and I will show you. Say you have a sound that you want to manipulate. Say you have a sound that you want to manipulate. Let's add an overdrive effect to that, and say we want the overdrive to increase over the span of that statement. We're going to need to use automation to do that. So what we do is we click drive, and then we have this red line right here, and then we can drag it down and then drag it up like that, and boom. Say you have a sound that you want to manipulate. We just very easily change the effect parameters, and it happens with literally everything in the program. You just click it, a red line appears, and then you start drawing. Say you have a sound that you want to manipulate. Like you can go absolutely crazy with it. Click, draw, red line, draw, click. Say you have a sound you want to manipulate. Click, red line, draw. Click, red line, draw. It is profoundly easy and profoundly musical to draw in automation in Ableton Live, and I haven't found any other digital audio workstations that have this kind of workflow. And I think that it isn't an accident that many electronic music producers work in Ableton Live. It's because automation feels so musical in the program. Electronic music is based upon the manipulation of timbres over time, and Ableton Live just works for that, which I think is a perfect example of how the tool affects the music in a pretty profound way. So for me, Ableton Live and its approach to automation just makes the most sense for the kind of music that I want to make. You can't really approach music this way if you're working in, say, Pro Tools. God help you if you tried. Why does 4/4 time feel natural? Well, in the West, we're very much encultured to it. It's the music that we listen to on the radio all the time. So we're hearing music constantly around us. And because of that, it starts feeling more and more natural to us. It creates a feedback loop. The repetition is making it feel more and more natural because, of course, but other cultures don't have 4/4 and that accent on 2 and 4, that rhythmic backbeat, as the default. In the Balkans and Greece and Turkey, for example, music is based on groupings of 2 and 3, which create these odd time signatures, which are the default for a lot of pop music and folk music. But the main rhythmic concept there is just alternating between longer pulses and slower pulses for the purpose of dancing, because dancing is done there a little bit differently. The point here is that 4/4 sounds natural to you because you grew up in a culture where 4/4 dancing was kind of the default, and the music followed. There's nothing universal about 4/4. How do I stop rushing the beat? Are you rushing or are you dragging?
Now, are you a rusher or are you a dragger? Or are you gonna be on my f***ing time?
So of course, practicing to a metronome is a very important thing here, but not enough is said about the importance of recording yourself and then listening back and then comparing the metronome to what it is that you just played. When you listen back to recordings of yourself, you will be your own best teacher because you can really tell whether or not you are a rusher or a dragger. If you record yourself and it sounds like you're Russian, try consciously slowing down when you're playing to a click so that you're a little bit slower. Yeah, it might sound like you're dragging. That joke's not even funny. But by constantly listening back and forth to recordings of yourself, you can make that course correction and start to really understand what it means to be on the beat, behind the beat, or ahead of the beat. But you first have to record yourself. That's the important thing. Will you answer my question? Sure. Can you describe the tonality feeling of Dorian flat 2? I will do just that. So yeah, Dorian flat 2. It's the second mode of the melodic minor. So you take B flat melodic minor and you start on the second degree, you get C Dorian flat 2, which to me has this really nice hazy quality to it. I don't know, there's some kind of shroud surrounding the sound of C Dorian flat 2. It's quite a nice sound. What's that font that's always in your YouTube thumbnails? That is Cool Vetica. I just picked a fun looking font maybe like 3 or 4 years ago and kind of just stuck with it. There's actually a typography blog that did a write-up on my thumbnails, which is kind of insane to me because I don't know the first thing about typography, but hey, Cool Vetica. Why do so many women in rock play bass compared to other instruments? I honestly have no idea, but they did choose the superior instrument. I've been trying to learn Teen Town for a while now. I can't play it as fast as I would like. Any tips? So like 5 years ago, I made a video called The Trick to Playing Bass Fast, according to Sports Psychology. And I think it holds up, and just so you don't have to watch it, basically what I say in the video is the trick is to play slow.
Slow down! I want to get there, but I want to get there alive!
Sounds totally counterintuitive, I know, but the trick to playing fast is to practice slow. And like way slower than you might think or might want to practice. Because when you're practicing slow, you're training those micro movements of the fingers to move as efficiently as possible so that when you speed the music up eventually, you can actually physically play it. This used to bother me to no end when I was first learning how to play bass, because I thought that it was necessary to practice at faster tempos, and that's how you got faster. But no, I had some very great teachers who told me that, well, no, you have to practice slowly. You have to practice in a way which lets you center yourself and lets you relax into the music so that you don't tense up when you're playing fast. Anyway, this has been Adam Neely's Bass Lessons. Please comment, like, and subscribe. Wow. Please comment, like, and subscribe, guys. Damn, I think I really look a lot better with hair. Thank you to Patreon for letting me afford hair. It's been a wild 5 years. What's the oddest song request while out on a gig? Yeah, so probably the Shirelles' Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow, which is a great song. I love it. It's like a classic 60s doo-wop girl group kind of thing. But the context in this really matters because it was requested by a bride and groom for their wedding. And the song is about a one-night stand. Tonight, the light of love is in your eyes, but will you still love me tomorrow? Kind of a strange thing for a wedding. The vibe was really strange on the dance floor after that one. And then, you know, we kind of had to do course correction and, you know, Stevie Wonder after that. But yeah, the Shirelles, will you still love me tomorrow for a wedding? Pro tip, don't request that. What'd you think about Patricia Taxon's video about 4-chord loops? I thought it was awesome. It is a 45-minute video essay all about 4-chord loops in popular song, building off of the theoretical framework of Philip Tagg for Patricia Taxon's particular goals as a composer. I contributed some bass playing to one of her songs featured in the video, as well as my image as represented by a cat. I believe it is called a fursona. I think what was cool about the video was that she used this theoretical framework to actually make something. You know, music theory is a tool, and the tool might be very pretty. You might have a very pretty hammer, but for me personally, I'm more interested in what the hammer is employed to make. Yeah, hammers might be pretty, but I don't know, houses might be more useful. And for me, the music that's made with the hammer is kind of like the house. I am stretching this metaphor probably too far, but that is my take on Patricia Taxon's 4-chord loops video essay. It's good. Can I ditch music theory if I feel emotion in music that I hear or make? I've said this so many times before on this channel, but if it feels good to you and sounds good to you, it is good. And it doesn't matter if you can't find a justification in a limited amount of music theory vocabulary and jargon for your music. As long as it feels good to you, it is good to you. You can kind of think of music theory as like the jargonification of sound, which can be very useful to have a common language to communicate with other musicians, but it also can get in the way, just the same way that jargon can get in the way of clear and effective communication. Jargon can get in the way of music making as well. If it sounds good, it is good. Bottom line. When are you guys gonna release a new Sungazer album? So yeah, we do have new music coming, hopefully this summer. It's going to be, I guess, our debut album because the first two things were just EP releases. A lot of new music. I guess more than twice the amount of music that we have released so far, because I think in total we've only released like 22 minutes worth of music, which is not that much. If you want to see me working on some of the music, I do stream over at Twitch, and you can sometimes catch me and Sean working on the music over there. So definitely go check me out over there on Twitch. And yeah, be pumped for that. And thank you so much, guys, for watching this video, this super fast Instagram Q&A. I very much appreciate it. And I very much appreciate my patrons who make these videos possible. You guys are the real MVPs. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, everybody, keep it bassy.